right, what you got?
So today, so I came up with a list of questions to ask family and friends about myself. So today's gonna be the first one I didn't get doing it with my dad. If you don't know this, my dad, he has his own YouTube channel. I will link it down below. Yeah, so let's get started.
All right. And I would say the questions are specifically about, they're not just about you, they're about how we, me in this case, but the people you're going to be talking to have how you being in our lives has changed our perception of and awareness of differently abled people, which is a super cool topic.
Yeah.
Because we could talk forever about you, but this specific thing is kind of cool. I think.
I agree.
Awesome.
What was it like whenever you found out I had CP?
Whoa, that's I don't know these questions. She's like just winging them, so or not winging them, but like I don't know what they are. So
I read them to him. I read them to him at the whenever I first wrote them. But
that's right, but that was like a year ago, maybe. Yeah, because you've had them for a long time.
Yeah.
So I forgot them. So I knew them, but I forgot them.
Yeah.
So what was it like? Well, definitely. It was hard because there was a lot of sadness because at that point I was aware that something wasn't right, wasn't normal.
Yeah.
And when I found out, got the diagnosis, there was a lot of sadness to think of like how this was going to impact your life, like how it was going to make your life harder, more difficult, more challenging. There was probably a little bit of how is this going to make my life more difficult, more challenging, to raise someone who's differently abled. So there was, I'm sure, some of that. But more it was like a sense of, for you, like what was this going to mean? And there was probably even some like inner, like, oh, did I do something wrong? Did I cause this either on a physical level or like on an energetic lineage level? Like, how am I responsible for this?
Yeah.
So it was this like kind of big mix of stuff that took a long time to unravel and kind of unfold in my...
And figure out?
I wouldn't even say there's a figuring out. I would say it's more just like coming to terms with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Cool. Anything else?
No, not on that one. What else you got?
How much about disability did you know before I was born?
Very little. I mean, I didn't have anyone in my family growing up who was disabled. There was one like sort of distant cousin who was either autistic or had Down syndrome or something, and there was in our family, like he was on my mom's side of the family, I think, and every time he called, like she would roll her eyes, and once we got caller ID, like no one ever picked up when he called because it was painful to have a conversation with him. He just like would say the same things. He would tell us our birthdays and when we were born, over and over and over. So it was just like, it was more like, oh, it's that person. So that was kind of the only personal connection I had with disability. I didn't have any friends in school who were differently abled. Even in college, like there weren't, I don't remember any differently abled people in college that I had a direct connection with, or even like distant connection with. It just wasn't in my field. And even after college, it was almost like, because before you were in my field and in my awareness, how Brian talks about the reticular activating system, when you start thinking about buying a certain car, you start seeing it, and those cars were always there, but you never noticed them.
Yeah, it's sort of like that.
I think it was sort of like that. Like I never had a connection with differently abled people. So if I did, if they were in my field, I just didn't even notice them.
Yeah.
Other than maybe, oh, there's a blind person with a stick, which is obvious, or a guide dog or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, so before you were in my life, it was really not part of my awareness at all.
And when were you in school?
When was I in school? In college or
Both.
high school?
Both.
High school was, or like, my elementary school was like 70s and 80s, and college was 80s.
Alright, so I'm pretty sure that the disability movement started in the 70s.
And when did the ADA come in? Wasn't it the 80s?
Yeah, so. Yeah, I was wondering because before that, this is a fun fact about the disability movement, if you guys did not know. Before that, disabled kids were completely segregated. They were like in basements of schools, or did not go to schools at all.
Well, that makes
Yeah.
sense because I don't remember
Yeah.
there being
So,
any disabled kids.
That's why,
in
because they were
my
completely
schools.
segregated. They either did not go to school at all, or they were just in the basement and completely segregated, and they had a completely different. Yeah, everything was completely
Wow.
different until the school act was passed.
Got it. And that was the inclusion piece. Yep.
Yeah, so
Wow.
yeah, that's probably also another reason why. I will link Judy's book down below if you want to read it. It's amazing.
Judy Human.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's an amazing disability right advocate and activist. She's amazing.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. What else you got?
What was it like seeing someone with a disability before you met me and after you met me?
Yeah. So, like I said, before you were born and before we found out that you had CP, it was like I wasn't even.
Yeah.
They weren't even in my field. It was kind of like, honestly, there's a little bit of, shame in this that like. It's almost like I just filtered them out of my awareness, and then definitely once you were born and certainly after we found out your diagnosis, then it was all of a sudden like boom, it was like whoa, here are all these differently abled people, and like they obviously were there before you were born, but now all of a sudden here they are.
Yes, it was like shaders on, shaders off, and voila, disability everywhere.
Everywhere, not everywhere, but certainly a lot more than before. And noticing, especially, and we started doing things like we would do the music together, and there was that one the boy who was about your age, who had CP like much more severe than you. He couldn't walk, he couldn't talk, he was always in a chair or being carried. And so like seeing that and comparing what it was like at that time. You were probably 3, 4, 5 when we were doing music together, comparing what it was like to raise you with a honestly fairly mild form of CP versus that very severe, and like kind of being like, oh, thank you, grateful that it wasn't that bad or that severe, and then also like, oh, it still is. It still is a disability. It still means there's more.
I have to adapt. I have to do things differently.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, I'm just grateful I can live on my own and can do things on my own.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
For sure. You're rocking. Cool. Good questions.
Thank you.
I forgot how good these questions were.
What did the doctor tell you I could and could not do whenever I was born?
It wasn't when you were born. It was later. It was maybe 6 months when I first started noticing. When you were in the car seat in the back, your head always tilted to one side, and then I started noticing that your right hand had started to, when you're a baby, your hands are usually in fists, and then your right hand started to loosen up, but your left hand didn't. I was like, something seems not quite right. So it was around probably 6 months that we started finding out. But the doctor didn't say that. I don't remember the doctor saying you could or could not do this or that. It was more honestly like, other people, even like physical therapists would have, put limits on what was going to be possible. And I never, ever, ever wanted you to feel that there was something you couldn't do. And I mean, I really honestly resisted even the label of cerebral palsy. Just because it's such a broad, it's such a broad thing, and when people think of cerebral palsy, there's, for me anyway, there's an image of a significant disability.
Yes.
Should we wait until the trash truck? That's the trash truck.
Yeah.
Thing. Do you remember when you were a baby and you used to love the trash truck and you would run out? When she was little, she would run out every whatever Tuesday or Thursday morning with the trash truck, and watch it as it came and did its thing. You loved that. So I didn't want you to get sad. I didn't want myself, and I didn't want you to get like identified with this idea that you had cerebral palsy and that it was, you know, this big thing.
And it controlled my life and I could not do certain things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there are definitely belief systems around what is possible and what is not, what's not possible. And you're seeing it even now, you know, as like people are amazed that you're doing rock climbing and people are amazed that you're biking and people are amazed that you're doing this or that. And it's like, I'm not amazed. I'm like, you can do whatever you freaking want to do.
It's like anyone can do anything they want. It's just it's finding different ways to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, it wasn't an overt, you know, the doctor saying, oh, she'll never be able to walk or she'll never be able to use her left arm. There was just.
Did you set any limitations on me because I had a disability?
Well, I mean, this is where my hope is that I didn't set limitations on you consciously.
Yeah.
Possibly unconsciously. I mean, I don't know.
I do not know.
I think maybe in some ways the unconscious part came through in how protective I was of your space.
Yeah.
Like, I really didn't want people putting their projections on you about what you could and could not do.
Yeah.
And so probably that was an expression of some of the unconscious ways that I might have been worried or concerned, or you're like, oh, she's, you know, maybe there was a part of me that felt like you were never going to be able to do something.
Yeah.
And so put up kind of maybe stronger boundaries and protections around you than I might have needed to.
Yeah.
But consciously, I didn't have any, like, I really felt and still do feel that whatever you want to do, you can do. It's just about you. Honestly, it's just about you choosing to want to do it.
Yeah.
You know? And it's like the GED, choosing to do it. It's like learning to rock climb or shooting a bow and arrow.
Or doing anything in my life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like as soon as you say, I want to do this, and you put
the time and effort.
Devote yourself to it, you can do it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Cool.